I'm back. So today I thought we'd talk about the new, next gen Lightning. I put up a video about how Ford should build a Lightning, and as it turns out, they are building the Lightning, and it's going to be EV. But one of the things I think that they should think about is the user experience with a vehicle like that. When Ford was working on building the Mach E and really creating its presence, they had Vaughn Gittin Jr. or Ken Block, one of them, drive, a 1400 horsepower version of it. And they actually had T-Pain come in and do some of the sound engineering. And I think that that's where, some of the failures are going to come. When my wife and I were out shopping for a car this last year, we ended up getting her a 2021 Ford Explorer ST. But before we bought that, we actually looked at the new Mach E, and it was not a GT package, but it was like, their mid-level package. It was a nice car, had all the bells and whistles kind of a thing, but it just wasn't the GT version of it, so all-wheel drive with a longer battery pack. But one of the things that I did not like about that car was the experience of driving. That's why we ended up buying the Ford Explorer, the ST. And I found the ST Explorer to be a fun and actually pretty exciting car to drive, which is a little odd thinking that a Ford Explorer would be a fun car to drive. But with 400 horsepower and 415 foot-pounds of torque, even though it's a heavy vehicle, it's right around the 4,500 pound range with her package that we got her. It's heavy, so 400 horse is not the same as it would be obviously in like a Fox body or something. But I found the ST was a lot more fun to drive. We got her the street performance package, so it had the different wheels and that kind of stuff on it. But it was a lot of fun to drive. Its handling was a fun experience. It was very reactive, the way it handles. The braking is great. Acceleration feels good, for 400 horsepower and a Ford Explorer. It's a rear-wheel drive setup, so the engine is, not transversely mounted like front-wheel drive. It's set up in the rear-wheel drive configuration, and you could just tell that it was a different vehicle to drive. My wife actually had a 2013 Ford Explorer Limited, and that was boring to drive. I mean, she liked it, but overall, the experience of driving it wasn't interesting or fun. And the ST Explorer actually was interesting and fun to drive. But back to the Mach E, the thing I think that the user experience of driving it was boring. And I think that's where they fall short. It's cool to drive an electric car. It feels awesome. The acceleration is intense, and it's just a constant, stream of torque, which you feel. But when an enthusiast drives a car, it's more than just the 0 to 60. I mean, that's a lot of it. We like the speed, we like the handling. The Mach E actually felt like it handled pretty well considering it was pretty heavy, but it didn't feel fun to drive. And I think the thing that it lacked the most was actually the sound, right? The sound of the experience. I know obviously it's an electric car. It does not obviously have an exhaust tone, duh. But I think that like with the Mach E, that 1400 horsepower version that they had put out, the sound that thing made was so intense. It made me want to drive one just because I thought, wow, like you just hear that screaming whine. It's like one reason we love O3 Cobra. They have that just like, oh, that scream as they pull through the gears, and that's part of the experience. We like the handling, we like the acceleration, we like how things feel, but I think it just fell short. The experience is more than just turning a steering wheel. For an enthusiast, it's also about the sound. We want to feel how the car handles, its acceleration, the G-forces, but the sound brings us through that experience. And maybe Ford was smart and they just built the standard package Mach E to be more quiet, refined. which if that's what they were going for, then they nailed it. If you haven't driven one yet, you should. It's a cool experience, and it does ride very nice. It's very comfortable. It didn't feel like it should. It didn't have the sound. That experience was lost. So I'm hoping with the Lightning, that's where I was going with this whole thing. I kind of went down a rabbit hole with the Mach-E, but I'm hoping with the Lightning that they're actually going to, pipe in the sound. And even if it's artificial, it doesn't matter. Even if the whine from the motors is still pretty quiet, because it typically, there's a little bit of whine, but not like it was in that commercial they shot, or that, yeah, it was a commercial for YouTube or video for YouTube. I'm just hoping that we get that experience with the new Mach-E, the GT package, and we get that experience with the Lightning. I just think that has to be one of those things that they just think of. And even if you could turn it off, fine. Make it a selection to turn off. That's fine. Just so you have that option of piping in the sound, because I think that, again, we almost bought a Mach-E, but we didn't. We ended up with the ST Explorer, the internal combustion engine. It just was a better experience, and that sound makes that experience. And I think that that's where, the car companies are falling short. They're trying to make cars quieter and quieter. And I love that. I have an F-150. It's really a quiet drive, a nice smooth ride for a pickup truck. But I do like it when I give it a little gas. I can hear the turbo spool, and off we go. And that's just something that I think is missing in the EV market. So I'm hoping Ford nails it with this. I really am. I'm hoping that with the release of the new Lightning, that they really nail the sound on the machine. Not just the truck itself. Like, hey, here's this cool truck. It's really fast, dual motor, batteries, blah blah blah. Great. But let's hope that they're really making the experience come alive. Because if they're not, I think they're going to lose out on a lot of people. Anyways, if you like this video, like and subscribe. Put some of your thoughts down below. What do you think? Do you think Ford should, and the rest of the EV world, should they make the experience of driving an EV about sound? Is that important to you? What do you think? Do you think we should ask the car manufacturers to make the car quiet, fine, but also have that option to have sound? Let me know what you think in the comments.